All right, so we're going to create a new plugin. We're going to talk about code issues today. The code issue I want to create is actually one that we don't ship yet. And so, you know what, let me do this. Before I even start this, let's go in and let's open up this object initializer test. Let me show you what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So here I've got this method called r=. I'm passing in two booleans. And sometimes I'll write code like this. If p1 equals p2, then return true. And I don't realize that what I'm really got here is an assignment instead of what I want, which is this.
I do that all the time. When I'm having to write C# code, it kills me every time because I'm so used to not having to do that in VB.
As a VB developer, this is definitely going to get you. And also sometimes I'm just, I don't notice and I hit 1 instead of 2. And if I'm lucky, these are type ints or something else where it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't resolve to a Boolean. But if these expressions are of type bool, and I have something along these lines here, or maybe something like this, then what happens is I have code that doesn't work the way I'm intending it to work, right? I've got an assignment instead of a comparison. So what I want to do is create a code issue. Now, code issues are these things that give you these little squiggly underlines. If you hover the mouse over them, you can see what the issue is, and you can see a fix. Like, for example, here, member can be static. We can make member static. If I click on that, it'll go ahead and make that static. Let me undo that for a second and go back to where we were here. And here on the side here, you can see also the code issue is here. I can hover over it and say make member static, click on it here. Also, if I use Alt page up and page down, I can jump from issue to issue through the code.
There's different types of highlighting as well, so some of them are different colors depending on the severity, and I think there's even one that ghosts out the original text because it's not in use, isn't that?
That's right. So if we come in here and we were to create a new Boolean parameter after P3, in a moment we'll see this ghosted out. There you go, right there. It goes gray and shows you the issue is it's an unused parameter, and then I can just click on here to remove it. So what's cool is it kind of combines, a code issue can combine, as you saw right there. In fact, in both of these, we see the issue and the fix connected, right? Here, member can be static. Well, the fix is make member static. If we were to bring up the menu here, you'd see make member static show up right there in terms of the refactoring. So we can bring that up and apply it there. Likewise, if we were to bring up the menu here, you'd see what is remove unused parameter right there.
Cool.
So we're going to learn how to create the issue and how to fix the issue. So we're going to need to create a fix for this as well, and let's do that. So let's now go in DevExpress, a new plugin. Actually, maybe before I create a new plugin, let's at least copy this code to the clipboard. So we got it in our plugin, we can look at it. And now let's go to the new plugin. So
just to remind people while we're setting up here, we've got a fully dedicated area for questions, so if you do miss something, if you want us to expand on something, please just throw something in there and we'll get to it as soon as we can.
So I'm going to call this, I'm going to call this assignment expression to equality test, maybe like that is what I'll call it. So we're going to turn an assignment expression, which is an expression that does an assignment, and turn that into an equality check, an equality test. So say OK, it's going to be a standard plugin. OK here as well. So we want to drop two things on the form, on the design surface. So we'll go into the toolbox. One of the pieces that we want to drop on here is a code provider. Well, let's start with issue provider, is an issue provider. So we want to drop an issue provider on, and that's our code issue. Okay. The other thing we want to drop on is a code provider. That's going to be the thing that does the fix. And we talked about code providers and refactoring providers like in a previous webinar. So if you want to know more about these, Rory and I went in crazy depth on both of these. So so we'll kind of go lightweight on the code provider today. But the essence behind the code provider is that implements the fix. I might also drop a refactoring provider on instead because that could also implement the fix. So both of these are essentially identical. The only real difference between the two is it determines where on the UI, on the menu they appear, either on the group of red menu items for refactorings or blue menu items for code providers. Okay, let's set some properties for these. So for the issue property, we'll go into the provider name and we'll say this. This is the text we want to put up here, and we'll say, I think I want to do this as a, let's see, expression assignment. Maybe let's do this. Called assignment intended, like that. And we'll make that be its provider name. That'll be its display name as well. And this will say warns if an assignment expression is found where perhaps an equality test was intended, like that.
Yeah.
So the question is, did you really intend to do an assignment? Maybe I should change this to equality check intended instead. Now I'll just do it. We'll keep it there, like that. Default issue type, we can specify what that is here, although we have plenty of opportunity later to specify what issues we want to add, so I'm just going to leave that as none. And we'll call this IP assignment intended. Like that. For the events, we are just going to handle the check code issues event. Back over here on the other half of this, which is the code provider, let's give it a good name. So we'll go to its provider name, and we're going to say assignment expression to equality check. So it's going to convert an assignment expression to an equality check, and converts an assignment expression to an equality check. So we'll just do that for the description for now. And let's see, the last piece that's interesting here is the code issue message. This is the unique string that connects this content provider to a particular code issue. And so this string should be passed to the ea.addIssue method called from the issue provider's check code issues event. So this is how we connect these two together. And so what I'll do for now is I'll just say assignment intended. Let's do this. Let's do like that. So that will be the message that we hook up. Now, one of the things that you maybe set up a warning flag for you at this point is you may be thinking, wait a second, this looks like a text message, and it looks like I'm linking this with this based on the text message. And the answer is yes, we are in fact doing that. If that makes you nervous, you can of course put this in a resource file and assign it to both of these when the plugin initializes, and then that way you can just hook them up in this manner. Oops, it looks like I have refactoring divider on the highlighted in the toolbox there. Okay, so let's give this a good name too. So CP assignment expression to equality check. All right. So and now let's handle some events. So on the event side of here, the three that I like to handle over here are check availability, apply, that's to apply the actual code provider, and then also prepare a preview. Okay? And I think I'm going to run it. And we're probably going to have to add some methods to this, Rory, but I'll stop it between and we'll come back and we'll add some methods.
Sure, yeah.
See how that's working. Well, the other thing I wanted to do is this. I wanted to, do we have it on the clipboard history? There we go. R equal. So let's put this code in, and let's actually bring up the expressions lab and look at this code. Normally we do this at runtime. You know, I run it and we do it in the other thing, but since I've got it here, let's go ahead and take a look at it. We can do it this way too. And let's give this a little bit more space here. Okay. So if I'm here on just a regular assignment, I can see here, over here in the tree, these are the two pieces of it, the left side and the right side of it. And if I go up one, the class name for this element is called assignment. If I go here on that code that's wrong, here again I'm on the element reference expression, I go up one, and here I'm on something different. It's called an assignment expression. Likewise, if I'm here, the same thing. I'm on an assignment expression. And that's what the icon for it looks like right there. So there's an assignment, and there's an assignment expression. Okay? So what we're looking for is an element called assignment expression. And what we want to do is we want to return that into something that looks like this, which if we now come back into this, and we look at, whoops, there we go, the parse tree just updated. Let's go back into it. There it is right there. It's called a relational operation, so we're going to need to create one of those when we generate the code. Okay, so we have this. I'm going to run it, and we'll maybe set some breakpoints here. I think the first thing we'll work on is the issue, just to see the issue, since that's the focus of this. And then after that, we'll create the code provider. We'll fill out that detail for the code provider and make that work. All right, let's open up the object initializer test. All right, there we go. We got a breakpoint inside of our check code issues. So inside of check code issues, the event args that we have inside of there, there's a method called getEnumerable. And by the way, I should mention that when this event occurs, unlike just about every other event that you get from working on plugins, when you're here, you're not inside the UI thread. And what that means is you don't use CodeRush.source. In fact, don't use any CodeRush.xxxxx is my recommendation, because it's hard to tell which one of those may require that they be called on the UI thread. So we're not going to work with those. Instead, we're going to work with what is inside of here in the event args. So there's a call to getEnumerable, and it takes two pieces. It takes an element to enumerate over, and it also takes a filter. That's at least the one we're most interested in right there. Because we want to actually only find pieces that are of type that we identified in here, which were the type assignment expression. Here we'll go back into the expressions lab, and we'll take a look at that in the docket. So right here, we're looking only for these assignment expression. That's what we're looking for. So getEnumerable is going to take the first parameter, again, is essentially the scope. This is the parent. And what we can do is we can go into the event args, and we can actually go from there and just pass in the scope from the event args. So this is going to be called all over the place in the background thread. The scope that's passed in will be different. It's not guaranteed to be the current active file. It could be a file that's on disk or something along those lines. So the idea is we're going through and we're checking code issues in the background thread. So we'll pass in the scope, that's the parent, and then we want to pass in the filter. So we'll create a new, and we can create something called an element type filter. So this will allow us to then filter by language elements. And the language element type that we want to pass in, that's an enum, is an assignment expression right there. Okay? So that's what we're looking at. Let me do here's local there, we'll call that the filter. And that will, I guess I could name that also assignment expression filter. I might do that too. It's a little longer, but it does tell exactly what it's doing. Assignment expression filter. So there's our filter. Now, I could also, by the way, one of the other overrides here is to take an array of types. So if I'm looking for example, if I was looking for a method or a property, I could specify those here as well, just by creating an array of language element types and then filling out the pieces I'm interested in looking for. So what's cool about this is getEnumerable is going to come back and give you something that you can now enumerate over, and then you can come in here and do a for each and specify the elements that you wanted to, and then now you're just looking at only those elements. So what it does is it saves you. It's a fast way of going through and actually identifying each piece individually.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Excellent stuff.
Okay.
It does, yeah.
All right. So now we're going through each element, and now what I want to do is I want to set a breakpoint here, because at this point we're going to only see assignment expressions and just see what we have. And let's run it and see if we get to breakpoint. Okay, we have a breakpoint, and so let's go and get the element and look at it. So the first thing that's interesting here is the element is something called a light assignment expression. But that's not at all what we were looking at when we were here. It was just something called an assignment expression, right? It was here, and let's see, I guess I got to make this wider so you can see it. There, it was an assignment expression. So what's going on? Why does it say light assignment expression? That's like question number 1. And the reason it does is what's going on is we have both lightweight and heavyweight representations of source code. So in the low level, deep down, deep down core of the DX core and what CodeRush depends upon, there are all these light elements that are out there. Those elements are lightweight. They do not have as many properties or as many methods as the heavier weight representations of the same objects. They exist for performance and memory reasons, right? Just so that we can keep memory at an absolute minimum. Now,
Sure.
we saw last time when we were building plugins, we saw that there's a way to promote them, right? There was something called a language element restorer. There it is right there. Convert to language element. That's the high-level class. We could pass in element. And then we could, now this just gives us a language element right here, but we can come in and say as assignment expression, like that, declare local. So that's one way to deal with this. So let's just do this. We'll step through that code and now bring this down here and see what we've got. Now we have an assignment expression. And we could simply do this if we wanted to, right? To use this right here, language element restore. And you know what? I'm just thinking, note to devs, there should be a method called convert to language element here that wraps up language element restorer. This is for you, Rory, to tell me, remind me of later.
Indeed.
Okay, so that we can hide language element restorer from this, from the developer, so the developer doesn't have to know about this class.
Sure.
Okay, so we just go in and we would convert to language element, and then we would pass in the element. That's what I want right there. Here, if you want, I will. I'll stick this in the chat. That's for everybody. I'll send it to everybody, so nobody thinks I'm hiding anything from them. But at any rate, so that's what I would like. So we don't have to do this, but we can do this. We can also get around it. Okay. So let's look at this assignment expression. So what we need to do next is we need to now say we need to add the element. So let's go into EA. We're going to say. We can say add error, add hint, add issue, add smell, add warning. So we can do all of these. Or we can simply say, if we choose add issue, it gives us the ability to specify the code issue type. So we can hold on a second, let's get through there it is right there, the code issue type. Like that, and then we can specify what that is. I'm going to make this a warning for now. It wants a source range, so we can come in and say assignment expression.range. And then we can also specify a message. Now this is that link up message we were talking about before.
Sure.
So I'm going to grab this is the code provider. That's what I called it, assignment expression to quality check. And what was it called? The code issue message. That's what we want to pass in. Okay. So now I'm adding an issue and I'm linking it up to my fix. Okay. I'm going to set a breakpoint on my availability check too because I'm expecting that to, now that I've added it, I'm expecting this to be hit pretty quickly. Let's run it. Well, we've got another element in there. So we've got 2 elements in there. I just took the breakpoint. Now we have this coming in. Let's just cheat for a minute and say EA.available equals true. We'll just set that for now. And now let's run it. And now we have the underlines across the area. And if we hover over it, we see that the issue is there with a fix, assignment expression to a quality check.
Cool.
If I click on that, then we need to set in a breakpoint down here. But I hard-coded this, right? If we go anywhere and we hit the CodeRush refactor key, it's available. Assignment expression to a quality check. So we need to add some code there to make sure that is, in fact, working as we expect it to. So, so I wanted to show though how to use this without going and converting to this language element because it's it might be of interest, right? So let's do this and look at what's going on. Let's set up another breakpoint here. Let's. I'm going to delete and paste. I'm sorry, cut and paste that. So now we should get a call in here in a second. There we go. So now we are in and we're inside here. Instead of doing this, whoops. just paged up, I think. Oh, did I lock up? Okay, so I have seen this, and 4 times today I've locked up while debugging. I've never seen this before, and however, there's, and I talked to my devs about it, and they said they also have never seen it, so I'm not sure what's going on. So what I'm going to do, since we're not responsive here, and I'm not sure what's causing this, I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to delete this right here. I'm going to go and delete the one that we're running. I know this because this has less memory than this one, so this one we're debugging, so it's taking more memory, so let's say end process on that, and then we'll go back and run it again. We may have to do that a couple more times today. I don't know why that's happening. It might be us. It might be something we've done, but it also might not. I'm like, I had another problem that was happening the other day that was caused by, it looked like it was caused not by us, but by the debugger canvas, right? I didn't have any hints up, and then I got rid of that. Okay, so let's open Object Initializer Test again. Okay, we're in here. So instead of working with assignment expression, and let's comment out both of these bits of code here, let's look at what we have here. So in here, we have, it's a light assignment expression. What's interesting is if I actually go in and type this in, DevExpress, CodeRush, structural parser, light assignment expression, I'm not going to find it.
No.
It's not there. Oops, hold on, let's get to it a little faster. CodeRush dot structural parser dot light assignment, it's not there. Light S, excuse me about that, folks. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go. So I claimed nothing could go wrong in a session, and I just typed in light S. There you go.
Well.
Miller's downfall. Fired from DevExpress. Profanity on the internet. Shocking. All right. So, we can't work with this thing because we don't have it. We can't typecast as it. This is like some class that's probably hidden or not, certainly not public out there. So what can we do? Well, we know that we have this bit of code here, right? Let me just do this, put this back. It was working with an assignment expression. And let's just change it to this. Put the letter I in front of it. And let's see what happens when we run the code. And we actually get something, okay? So the lesson here is that for every language element type, I'm pretty sure there is a corresponding interface that starts with an I, right?
I've certainly not found a case where that isn't correct.
Right, for everything, right? So that what that means is if you see assignment expression and you're working with these light elements, try to typecast it as an I assignment expression and see what you get. Now that we're here, let's go get the range. We don't have a range. We used to have a range when we were working with the full-fledged element, right, with assignment expression or type assignment expression. We had a range property there. There we were using it right there. It does not exist. Instead, we have something called ranges. Ranges is an array of text ranges that indicates where the element appears in code. In the case of partial elements, like partial classes, there will be one. Here we go. Let's get it up again here so we can see this just because it's interesting. There will be one text range for each partial declaration. So for each partial, there's going to be a text range. The name ranges, ranges, and files arrays, these are all properties right here. Ranges, name ranges, right there, and files, okay, are all synchronized. And we'll have the same length and indexes. So ranges of 2 can be found inside files of 2. Really valuable information, except this isn't a partial. Let's go down here and see what count is on this. Count is 0. I got nothing. Okay? Let's see what else I have, though. The reason why, by the way, why don't we have ranges here? Oh, guess what? We're trying to save memory, right? The whole purpose of these is to save memory, so we're not storing a lot of extra detail if we don't have to. We can later get that if you need it, okay? And so as an example here, if we come in here to assignment expression, oops, we go assignment expression, We go in and say dot left side dot first name range. Let's see what first range gives us. I think it's going to give us nothing. But look at first name range. It gives us something.
Sure.
Line 11, column 8 is when it starts. That's for assignment expression left side. Paste that in here. Let's look at the assignment expression right side. And look at that. So remember before, you might be, if you were with us before when we were working with assignments, we're generating assignment statements. I think we used it twice. We were using it for our options plugin, Rory, that changed the read.
Conversion from reads to writes.
The reads to writes, right? And I was saying, why don't we have a right side property? And I was like saying, I need it. Well, assignment doesn't have it. Assignment just has expression on it as a property. So that with the assignment, you see what the expression is of the assignment. But it should also have a right side property, I think, and we talked about that before. But assignment expression does have a right side property. In fact, a lot of the binary expressions do have the right side property, so it is there. So if you were confused by this, thinking, oh wait, they just fixed the thing that Mark was complaining about last time, that has not happened. Okay. So we have assignment expression right side, first name range, and that's the right piece of this. Okay. So what that means is we can come in here and we can say, all right, with assignment expression, you say, let's say, if it's null, then we can come in and continue. Otherwise, we're going to say new source range. Now we're going to pass in, it has a lot of things we can pass in. One of the things we can pass in are these name ranges. Let me just copy this to the clipboard, put this up here, paste it, declare local, and so we'll call this the left range. You know what, let's not do that. Let's do this instead. First name range dot start, like that. Now let's declare local. So that's the start. And notice it's of type TextPoint. There. We actually have a constructor for source range that takes a text point. Normally we're working with source points, and I actually don't know the difference between a text point and a source point. I could not tell you the difference right now, Roy. I have no idea what it is. Other than my sense is it's probably a lightweight version of a source point because it's inside the light elements. That's my hunch right now. I'd have to look at the code to find out for sure. But essentially it's a way of specifying a location using columns and offsets. So we want to come in and pass in start, and then we also want to pass in like end here. And let's duplicate this, call it, specify end there. This is my new local. We're going to call this range. And now I can come in here and call in add issue. Let's do this. Warning and pass in range. Let's put this right up here as a reminder.
Now at the moment, Mark, you've got both start and end at the same physical location.
Oh, thank you, sir. So we want this to be right side. Are you happy now?
Depends. Would it be the right side's end?
Oh, you're so brilliant. I was actually making this mistake on purpose, but yes. Let's just make the mistake and I'll show you what happens and then we'll fix it.
Okay.
I was actually going to trap you and I was going to say nothing could go wrong. Look what's happened. See? Yes, it should be the end of the right side. It's only getting part way because I'm using the start of this name piece. So yes.
Although arguably, we could go from the end of the first one to the start of the next one and just highlight the middle portion.
Brilliant.
That would be an option.
I love it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So I'm going to come in here.
The piece we're highlighting here is the operator, really, more than anything else.
Okay, here we go. So let's do this. So let's take the end of this one and get the operator. I wonder if there's an operator. I don't know if there's an operator. There's probably not an operator range. To get to the operator range, let's say we wanted, we just locked up. All right, there you go. There's twice. Nothing could go wrong. All right, whoops, not that one. This one. All right. Right, so of
course, this choice of which piece to highlight is purely a personal taste thing. You could argue that we should highlight the whole expression just to make it more obvious on screen anyway.
There you go.
Shows you that you can do the left and the right or the middle piece as a result of subtraction.
Okay, so here, I want to just come in here and say, I think there's an operator range and operator text. So there you go. If you wanted to just highlight the operator range, you could get it from here, from the big object, right? I hope that's clear. That's clear to everybody. Right, this idea of kind of a big heavyweight object and a lightweight object. The heavyweight objects are designed to make it easier to write plugins that work with language elements, and that's the whole purpose behind having two sets of these. So yes, you can go in and get the operator range if you only wanted to highlight that. So I'm going to go, I think I like your second idea better, Rory. I'm going to go in and make it go from start to end so the whole piece is selected. Let's run it. Whoops, I have an extra line of code I don't need there, but no big deal, I started it up. What's our time? 30 minutes, not bad.
We've got a question in the forum just while this is coming up. I'm afraid I can't pronounce the name. So, our friend with the unpronounceable. Basically, he's after a question. He's done some code issues himself before, and he's asking, well, when I pass in a start and an end that's after the last character in the line, nothing gets highlighted. Is this because we have to arrange our current highlighting mechanisms around, should we say, real text rather than virtual space?
That might be, yeah, it might be a bug in our, it also sounds like it could be a bug as well. Let me clear this off and we'll run it and we'll see what we've got. So now we've got the full range selected and we're not promoting to a big object to do that. So,
okay. So that's going to save us memory there just by doing it that way, yeah?
Yeah, it's not. It's totally insignificant at this point, but I just wanted to show it because I wanted to show that you can get to a lot of the same things using the low-level pieces if you just kind of dive in and explore a little bit. Okay. So the question, the last question we just had is what happens is if we specify a range way out of here. So let's do that. I'm a little wary about it. There's something about setting a breakpoint in this method that it's happening in this background thread that's causing the lockup on the other side. I'm a little wary about it, but well, you know what? Let's do this. Let's set it here, but we'll make the code change in the other piece. Let's see, would that be okay or not? Maybe it wouldn't allow us to do that. Wouldn't like it. Or maybe it would. It would break everything. All right, there we go. So let's do this. Now let's see if this is any better. Okay, so let's make the end be.
Well, if we add just a fixed quantity of, say, 20 characters to each one.
Yeah, we can do that.
That would shift it out to the right.
I wonder if I can assign the offset here, plus equals 20, just to the end. Let's see if that works. No, not happy about that? No setter? I think that's what this is telling me. Yeah.
I think the
cannot be assigned to
is a struct. And
hold on.
It's immutable or something. I think you have to create another one.
There we go. Set offset.
Oh, there we go. Maybe not.
Let's try that and see if we can duplicate the problem that was reported. All right, run. Clear that. Go. Okay, so we're not seeing anything yet, but I think that's because of the engine has detected no change to this code, so it's not making any. It's not asking the same question again. Let me delete and then paste it back in and see what happens. And see. Okay, now here it actually looks like it's working. Right, we're seeing it.
Right. So what we're seeing there, though, Mark, is it's extending as far as it can. So it's including the bracket this time.
Yeah.
I believe the question was about whether both points were to the far right. So effectively highlight or provide a warning, but against sort of a virtual space.
And
it's my feeling that that probably wouldn't be in line with how the feature is maybe meant to be used.
Yes, you can. You need to do this, and I think the reason why is it boils down to a Visual Studio limitation. If we're using Visual Studio's mechanism to highlight these, and I think we are, you're limited by actually only highlighting non-white space characters, at least ranges that where there's, I'm sorry, not virtual space. You can't put these in virtual space. You
Yeah.
put them over a space. Like if I were to come out here and like do a bunch of spaces, yeah, look what's happening, right?
Sure.
So I get to 20. Oh wait, no, it's not. It's going way beyond. Is that because it's stretching? Let's just delete and paste it back in. And now see what happens. Now we should go only to 20. What? Oh, it deleted.
I think it removes the extra spaces, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's hard to actually verify, but so part of what's going on is there's a stretching that's occurring. So this stretching is occurring because of Visual Studio. So yeah, it looks to me like there's strong evidence that we're using Visual Studio's mechanism, and that's why you're not able to put those issues off to the side like that.
Yeah. Interestingly, there is another case where you can put a start and end that are exactly the same location, effectively zero width error. You'll still get the coloring off to the left and the right-hand side in those vertical bars. A case to do this might be where you were trying to suggest incorrect use of vertical white space, where technically there was nothing on screen you could highlight, but but you'd still want to show an error in that case. Maybe you're talking about coding standards, style cop saying
right.
must put spaces between this. So that's one way around that.
Right. Let me set a breakpoint over here again in the availability check. We'll make some more code changes over here to this piece. So let's set the let's change the line. Oh, did I lock up again? It doesn't matter. All right. So wow. Here we go. Let's kill it. All right. So let's. I wanted to also change the line, the end line, and add 1 to that. Do I have a set line? New. Can I modify line? Let's see if it'll let me do that. Yep, can't do that either. But it's interesting. I have a. So I guess what I'm going to do is this. So let's do this. And if we did this instead, equals new TextPoint, and then we passed in. End dot line plus 1. There's more than one way to skin a cat, right?
And I wonder if the TextPoint isn't a representation of the studio concept, whatever we're being provided with. And the source point is perhaps our slightly souped up version, because I'm sure I've seen these kinds of methods available on a source point.
It's not.
Is it not?
It's inside. Look at where it is. It's inside structural parser.textPoint. There is a TextPoint in Visual Studio, but this is not it. This is a different version. Same name. So now let's see what's happening here. Cannot be assigned to. What? Wait. Oh, that's the old error, I think. Let's run it. Okay, yeah, Visual Studio just didn't clear it. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually putting the end on the next line because I wanted to demonstrate what happens there if you have multiple lines set up. I'm expecting it to not highlight anything, but we'll see. Maybe it will. Let's see what it does.
So there's perhaps three options here for what it could do. It could highlight in a strange wrapping form, so wrapping off one side and coming on the other. It could highlight in a block, a literal, like when you hold down the Alt key and drag drop, or it could highlight nothing, or it could even highlight, I suppose a fourth option is all of the text, but only the text between the start and the end.
All right, let's run it here. Okay, so here we go. This is what I was expecting. So instead of now highlight, because when we have a multiple line selection, we don't mess the code up with all these squiggly lines. Instead, we just put this off to the side, and there's the issue. Okay, so that's what's going on. That's what I was expecting. Okay, so now let's come back over here, and we will let's work on this availability check. So that's the next thing to do, and we'll fix the close this down, close that down, and we'll fix this bit right here because we don't need this bit of code here anymore. Okay. I'll just keep these, other code we were thinking about doing. Okay. So now we want to see if it's available. So what we need to do is this. We need to say ea.element. This is the element that is currently active. And we need to say eElement as assignment expression. So now, here's the thing. Here we're not working with light elements anymore because we're actually in the, when this event is called, when it's fired, you're inside real source code, and when we have, where that's open and active in the editor, and when that's the case, we have full language elements for everything. So when we come in here and we get to element on here, that type is of type language element. I'm going to cast it as assignment expression, declare local, and then I'm going to say if local is null, then I'm going to come into assignment expression, and I'm going to call getParent on this. GetParent has a parameter, if I can get the parens right, there we go. Type language element type, you see this showing up all over the place. This enum is used everywhere, assignment expression. And actually I think I just want to say assignment expression is equal to, ea.element getParent. Type language expression. Oh, we need to make that as an assignment expression. And then now we want to say if that's null, and then we want to get out of here. In fact, what I think I really want to do is I'm just going to shut down. I'm going to hit Shift F5 to stop the other instance, and I'm going to start doing a little refactoring here, because I want to take this method, and turn it into its own method.
Yeah.
because I anticipate that I'm going to use this somewhere else. So
this is actually a very interesting point for me. When I started doing this kind of stuff, I didn't do the refactorings and the code providers. I started with something nice and simple, was just an action. The difficulty with using the action is that it doesn't have much in the way of support from the EA parameter, because it just doesn't know abstractly what you're going to be trying to do. So when I was looking for things like the active element, I was going through CodeRush.source.active, this, that, and the other. But it's very important here that you don't use that mechanism of doing it. Instead, you go with either EA.element or EA.codeActive. And the reason for this is that you're being passed in, if you like, scope, an element that is being appraised by the system. If you're purely doing a refactoring or a code provider, this isn't too bad, because as your caret moves around, you have context, you have physical location, and therefore that is exactly equivalent to the active X that you're talking about. However, when your code issue is looking around, it's doing this in the background, and it's not basing it on where your caret is. So it passes in a completely different context. So it's important in this case to use EA element or code active where you can.
Also, code providers can be called programmatically.
Indeed.
Targeting other places. So don't use CodeRush source active. You can use that in actions, and you can use that in other places as well, where where it makes sense, where you know where the caret is, you know what you want to, the caret's just moved. You want to work with the active document, great. But if you're working inside of a code provider like we are, work with this EA element. That's
I guess the lesson is always exhaust the EA dot possibilities before you move off to try and find things.
Great point.
And if it's not if what you want isn't there, let us know. And this is the kind of thing that we want to use. As Mark said earlier, I think it was an element restorer, language element restorer.
Right.
We should be providing access to that, and that's a good example of something that we'd like to provide in the future. Yeah.
All right, there we go. Before looking elsewhere. Yeah, I totally agree. I agree with that. That's what our goal is. That's what our intent is with event arts, is to make these really rich, so you have good discoverability into most everything you need. Okay, so I've got a method called getAssignmentExpression, and I'm just passing an EA. Check this refactoring out if you haven't seen it before. Decompose parameter. Use it frequently. See, what we're doing is we're passing in this big object, but we're really only using EA element in both of them. In both references to the parameter, which is of type language element. So decompose parameter can come in there and take a big object we're passing in and turn it into essentially a smaller object, maybe a few smaller objects if we use different pieces of it. Okay, decompose parameter. Notice it changed, it updated now this call down here. It used to be passing in only EA, now it's passing in EA element. That is a great refactoring. I use it frequently. Okay, so getAssignmentExpression, that gets us this far. And then we want to come in here and we want to say, if it's null, then return. Otherwise, we're going to say available is equal to true. Or we could just say it's equal to not null, like that. We're on an assignment expression. Okay? So that, I think, is all the code we need there. Let's see. What is this? This is when we actually apply it. So when we apply it, we're going to need to call this piece to getAssignmentExpression. Let's actually write that code out just to see what that looks like here. GetAssignmentExpression, passing in EA.element again. Let's declare local. If expression's null, we're out. Otherwise, we need to create, what was that thing called again? It was, change it to the right one, bring up the expressions lab, make it wide and fat so we can see what it's called. Relational operation. Okay, so that's what it's called. Let's go back down here to new relational operation, and it's expecting a left, an operator, and a right expression. So the left expression is assignment expression dot left side. Yep. The operator is relational operator dot equality. By the way, check out what we give you here, right, for relational operators. Folks, the DX core is it's huge. It represents,
amazing.
it's or maybe not huge, but it's sophisticated. It represents every single way of comparing via relational operators that are known among all the languages that it supports. So it's very, very cool. All right, so so we're doing an equality check, and then expression right. Assignment expression dot right side. That's our new relational operation. Now, there is a problem with the code I just wrote that is not intuitive, not obvious until you start running it. And well, even when you run it, strange things are happening, and it's all because of this line of code. Can you guess, Rory, what is wrong with this line of code right here? Let me just break this down so we can see all the arguments on one side here. Can you guess? Can anybody guess?
I can't just at the moment. We're creating a new relational operation. It seems to have the right parameters passed in.
It looks absolutely right. The problem is this, though, Rory. This left side belongs to this assignment expression. And when we add it here, it's going to reparent it. It's actually taking elements from the tree and changing them without telling CodeRush that things are now changed and different. And what happens is all kinds of strange things when we run it. Well, at least strange things with regard to this plugin. All of a sudden, you'll see that in fact, well, let's just run it and we'll see those strange things, and then we'll come back and fix it. So relational operation is there, and now I think we just need to go into CodeRush.language.generate element, and then pass in the relational operation. This will give us our new code, our new relational, our new quality test. Let's call it that, quality test. And then what we want to do is come down here and we want to say CodeRush dot, well, actually not there. We want to go to the event args. Do what Rory says, right? I was trying to get to text document, but we've already got a text document inside of here. Text document dot replace, right? That's the one we want. Yep. Replaces a source range with new code. Okay. And the source range is going to be our assignment expression dot range. The new code is going to be the new quality test. And the string operation is going to be just some string that's going to appear in the undo stack. So we'll say convert assignment to quality check. Like that. And then I think there's one more format which we can say yes, true, format it. I think by default normally it does format it. It's really only valuable if you want to not suppress.
I have an interesting question, Mark.
Suppress formatting. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm looking at the code you're writing, and it's occurring to me at least to ask the sort of questions perhaps that your demonstration is about to show. But if we move the left side and the right side, as you're saying that the creation of relational operation will do, is that going to affect the evaluation of the range of that assignment?
Well, the range, that doesn't matter for this. Oh, the range for this.
For the replacement.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it is or not. I don't know. We'll find out what happens. We'll find out what happens. So there's my apply. Let's do this. Let's also take this and extract this into its own method. And we're going to say get new quality test. I'm fine with that. New quality test code. Maybe I'll call that. All right. And so now we have, I can almost inline that temp, and let's break apart those arguments so we see all those on one line. Okay. All right. Yeah, it might affect that. Let's go in now, and I want to grab this bit of code though. And actually I wanted to get some double marker so I can get back fast. Get back quickly. I want to get this bit of code. And so now let's come in here, clear local, and let's come in. This is my prepared preview. I want to come in here and I want to do two things. I want to do add a code preview. We've seen this before. And just looking for a source point location, I want to point to the assignment expression.range.start. So point to that. And the code I want to pass in is the new quality test code. That's my code preview. And then I also want to do add a strike through. So this says what we're going to delete. And we're going to pass in this whole range like that. All right, let's run it. So we've got that problem I was talking about. Let's run it and we'll watch it and see what happens. And I think all our events are handled, yeah. So I think we're in generally in pretty good shape, except for the problem that I talked about. Yeah, so I had this problem. I brought one of my devs. So when I was working through this morning, I brought one of my devs over to take a look at this, and he was like, strange. It was Skorkin, right? So it was like, and not to say that anybody, that the other devs are not this. I was going to say he was always brilliant, but he's like, that's very interesting. And here, let's run it. And let's see what issues we see. All right, so we're here. Hover over it. Come on, hover. Give it to me. There we go. Hover. Hold down the control key. That part's working. See it? Let's click it. Nothing happens, except for the marker goes away. That's our engine in the background, right? We just applied a fix. We know we did, so we're going to take away the squiggly underline, so you don't have to worry about that. However, the issue, no code changes occurred. And if I come over here, there's one other problem that sometimes you'll see is this will come up and say no fixes available, like it's just completely lost it. So let's do this. We'll cut it. Whoops, I hovered over toolbox. Cut it, paste it back in. Let's see if I can get that a second error showing up there. Still there. Well, I've got to get the preview hint up. That's what I have to do. Well, maybe there it is. There it is right there. See it? No fixes available. So all of that is because we're kind of pulling the tree out from underneath.
Yeah, we're trying to do analysis on a tree, and then midway through we're changing the tree.
That's right. So let's fix that. So to fix that, the fix is relatively simple. We just need to clone these pieces right here. So let's come back in. We'll get a breakpoint over there. Well, let's see. We're at a point where we have no fixes available. Let's hit the CodeRush refactor key. Oh, and it's not available. You know what I need to do?
Yep.
Delete and paste. Now we're going to get it. It should be available because the tree is good now. Come on. There it is. And now there's the preview hint. All right. So now what we're going to do is, and sure enough, I am locked. It's okay. I have a good attitude about being locked now. I'm happy. I'm not going to be discouraged. I'm going to make this, call this clone on both sides. Now, clone is not showing up in the telesense. I talked to a dev about this already today. It needs to be there. So it shows up in some places you see clone, and other places you don't. It exists everywhere. Okay? And the only thing we need to do is typecast this as an expression. Let me clear this breakpoint so we can see syntax highlighted code. So we can say as an expression. That's what it's expecting. And again here as expression. And then that's the safe way to do it. Making this change and running now puts us in a place where we want to be. So something to be aware of, because it wasn't obvious. It was like, it took Alex a moment of thinking before he suggested the possibility that we might be disrupting the tree. And I was like, oh, yeah. So we're going to, in probably 11.2, the clone will be publicly available, and we'll see it there. It is on most things, but it's hidden from others, and so my apologies for that. So that's something we want to fix. Okay, so let's bring up the hint. Come on, where are you? There you go. And hover over. There's the preview hint. Let's click it, and there you see the fix. Okay, so now that's working as expected. We come over here, and we can apply the fix, and it works. Undo. Let's go into undo stack so we can see convert assignment to a quality check. There it is showing up there. We can undo that as well. Notice how immediately it's coming back up again, right? That's our engine coming back in and calling our issue provider, a code issue provider. We can also hit the CodeRush refactor key here, choose assignment to expression to quality check. There's the preview hint. Hit enter on it as well and use it there. And if we hit it again now, see it's not available anymore. So what's our time? 12:55, and you guys all thought we were headed towards disaster. Any questions, Rory? Do we have any questions from folks?
I think we're doing pretty well. We did get a feedback from Alex Skorkin again in the chat. He went off to check, and it says, no, only valid text can be underlined. No white space or virtual space.
Well, no virtual white space, right? Because I'm underlining this, right
Sure.
here. You can see that right there. But he's talking about, and if I add spaces to the end, we saw that work too, right? If I come in over here, if I delete that and hit space, no, I guess I got to do space, 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 and then delete that. There we go. And then I have those. So, yeah, Alex and I are both saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think that was it.
All right, kids, that's been your show for today. All right, tomorrow, I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow. We have the CodeRush feature webinar workshop, CodeRush feature workshop. I think we might, one of the things that's on the table is finishing up the pushing harder on that favorite views plugin that we were working on. I've also had a good suggestion for a code provider that implements iDisposable. So I like that one too. That one may take a little bit longer than an hour to do, but that was an interesting one as well. And if folks who are listening, if you've got, if you have suggestions, send them to us. Twitter's a great place to do it. Just say, here's what I want in CodeRush, here's what I'm missing, and we'll do our best to get that up for you. So Roy, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to end this session. I'm going to maybe get a quick bite of food to eat, and then I'm going to send you the source code, and I'll probably send you the source code first. You can get it up on the community site so people can download and install it, and then I will and then I'll put up a blog post about it probably. Say here's what we've done, here's what's out there. Okay.
Fair enough.
All right, guys, everybody, thank you very much, and we will see you tomorrow and or next Tuesday and or sometime later in the future. Amanda, are you there? Are you gonna?
I am here. I can't believe it. This has like been a record on both ends.
Not bad, huh?
You were 4 minutes early, and now you're 2 minutes. I mean, it's
3 minutes early. Yeah.
It must be the
awesome.
pants.
It is the pants. My pants are trending on Twitter, folks. They're trending on Twitter. Usually it's only big things like, whatever.
I got that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Wow. All right, so we do have a whole lineup of webinars posted for the rest of June and throughout July. You can check them out and register at devexpress.com/webinars. Coming up this week, tomorrow at 10 a.m., new WPF features with reporting in 11.1 with reporting evangelist Seth Juarez. This webinar will explore several new reporting features added to WPF in our latest release. These additions include new shortcuts, events, and preview features that will enrich your already powerful WPF reporting toolset. And of course, like Mark said, tomorrow at noon is the CodeRush feature workshop with Mark and Rory. And then Thursday at 10 a.m., building a scrolling tile engine with XNA on Windows Phone. This is the 4th installment in a 7-part series on Windows Phone 7 with XNA MVP Chris G. Williams. This webinar shows basic techniques for creating games that use a scrolling tile map. And finally, Friday, working with the state machine module with XAF evangelist Apostolos Bekiaris. In this session, he'll demonstrate how to take advantage of the module in our project management application. And again, if you missed anything from this webinar or you want to review any of the previous CodeRush webinars, you can visit us on the DevExpress channel at tv.devexpress.com. So again, thanks to Mark and Rory. Thank you all for joining us, and thanks for choosing DevExpress.